steps from the Capitol in Cheyenne with reporters in your hometown. These are the top stories from the Cowboy State Daily News Center.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily News Center, I'm Mac Watson. Cody Roberts, the Daniel, Wyoming man accused of running over a wolf with a snowmobile, bringing it into a bar, then shooting it dead, pleaded not guilty to animal cruelty on Monday. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Roberts appeared virtually in court, answering the judge's questions with polite but short responses.
In felony cases in Wyoming, pretty much always we see them plead not guilty at that first arraignment. And that's because it gives them time to prepare for trial if they're going to trial, or negotiate if they're going for a plea agreement. And so you usually don't plead anything other than a not guilty variation, just to give that breathing room if it's a felony.
Sweetwater County District Court Judge Richard Lavery appeared via a virtual link from his seat in Green River. He told Roberts that if a jury convicts him or gives a variation of a guilty plea, he would lose his Second Amendment and voting rights. Under the animal cruelty felony, Roberts could also face up to 2 years in prison and up to $5,000 in fines. President Trump on Friday pardoned mountain runner Michelino Censeri, who was convicted of using a closed trail in Grand Teton National Park during a record-setting trail run. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Wyoming Representative Harriet Hageman has called this case government overreach.
This is interesting because we saw Troy Lake, the diesel mechanic, pardoned Friday, and then now we're finding out Michelino Censeri was pardoned Friday. This was Hageman's little cause, whereas Troy Lake was Lummis's cause all along. Lummis came out swinging for him. This one was more Hageman's. She was calling this overzealous prosecution. She was wanting to investigate this as a case of prosecutors getting too big for their britches. Then Trump went ahead and pardoned him on Friday.
On September 2nd, 2024, Censeri set a new Grand Teton speed record, ascending and descending the mountain in 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 10 seconds, almost 3 minutes faster than the previous record holder. Days later, Wyoming-based federal prosecutors charged him with a crime for running on a restricted social trail. Wyoming ranchers have been calling for investigations of large meat packers for decades and are cheering President Trump's move to do just that. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that ranchers are saying the system is broken and Congress needs to change the laws.
The fix is better competition, sell meat across state lines. Ranches could develop their own brands. They could sell direct to consumer. That would have an immediate competitive impact in the market because people have choices. More choices than they have now. It tends to help bring prices down because people have to compete. When you only have 4 companies doing everything, how much competition is there really? And it makes the fewer players you have, the more likely it is that they'll kind of nudge, wink, wink, and just never raise their prices.
President Trump is calling for an investigation into allegations of price fixing by the nation's big 4 meat packers, announcing a Department of Justice investigation into the meat conglomerates that, between them, are the middlemen for 55 to 85% of all the chicken, beef, and pork sold in America. Energy giant Repsol filed a court motion Friday asking a judge to review a decision by the Laramie County Commission to deny its proposed wind farm project. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports the move could open the door for the project, which would be 3 times the size of Cheyenne.
The company argues in its court filing that the commissioner's decision does not align with laws and regulations surrounding similar projects like this, and Repsol argues that it has made every effort to be compliant with each of these restrictions. This appeal is a crucial next step in Repsol's goal of getting the project approved and allowing it to begin construction on time. A judge is expected to review that petition and is going to issue a judgment which could determine the final fate of the Laramie Range Wind project.
Now, a judge is expected to review that petition and is going to issue a decision which could determine the final fate of the Laramie Range Wind project. I'll be back with more news from the Cowboy State Daily News Center right after this.
The weather's turning oh so frightful this time of year, but those excavation projects, they will persevere. I'm Jan Warren for One Call of Wyoming, here to remind you that no matter how big or how small your digging project is, contacting 811 2 full business days before you begin is required by state law. So stay safe unwrapping presents, not utility lines. From all of us at One Call of Wyoming, happy holidays.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Proponents say that allowing Wyoming ranchers to sell their landowner hunting tags would bring them a much-needed financial boost. Opponents argue, though, that it would inflame tensions between landowners and hunters. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines provides insight on both sides of the issue.
There's a bill sponsored by a committee. Landowner, they get these hunting tags, whether they should be able to transfer them, which basically translates into should they be able to sell them? Should they be able to put them up on the market and sell them? There's potential that some of those tags, especially in really high-profile or highly desired hunting areas, could bring a pretty good chunk of change. And so, of course, that's controversial. Some people say it's just compensation for the landowners who are providing food and water and shelter for the wildlife. Others are saying it basically amounts to turning wildlife into a profit generator.
State Senator Tim French from Powell tells Cowboy State Daily that despite the steep odds, he's reasonably optimistic that the bill has a good chance of passing this time around. The brother of a Casper mother of 2 killed in a head-on collision Friday night says her children are, quote, insanely saddened, unquote, by the devastating crash, but they're surrounded by loved ones. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that her father, who was also in the car and remains hospitalized with serious injuries, is surrounded by family.
I called the sister-in-law, like, hey, I'm writing this story. Is there anything you want to say about Mandy? And she goes, let me talk to the whole family. We're all here. They were all waiting at the ICU to see how Randy was going to do. They were there for him. And so they did go ahead and make a joint statement. And I talked to Mandy's brother about how the dad is struggling. And so this family was really together and had all showed up for their loved one.
43-year-old Mandy Butler was driving a Toyota SUV the correct direction when a Nissan passenger car was driving the wrong direction along the 5300 block of CY Avenue in Casper Friday night, slamming into the Toyota, killing Mandy. A man accused of a fatal road rage-induced shooting outside a Cheyenne grocery store in September fainted in court Monday when a judge upheld his bond at $500,000. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports Mansour Ali started screaming and crying after the judge's decision.
During Monday's hearing, Ali's attorney asked the judge to lower his bond down from the lofty $500,000, which was denied. This led Ali to become emotionally distressed, and he actually fainted in the courtroom and collapsed to the ground. This led police to clear the room as medical officials came in.
Laramie County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Perry Rockvam tells Cowboy State Daily that Ali was definitely emotional in the courtroom, and such outbursts are not uncommon among those moving through the criminal justice system. A well-known Yellowstone photographer posted a video of 2 tourists who narrowly escaped being gored by bison earlier this summer. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi spoke with the Yellowstone resident and photographer Julie Argyle about the disturbing incident.
She captured the video in late May. It's 2 tourists who were being shouted at, don't go over there, there's bison, and they even acknowledge that they hear people and are just powering on anyway. And then they have a near miss with one of the bison as it charges them. She posted the full video just this past weekend, and since then it's been viewed almost 8 million times. So it's just another incident of people showing really brazen behavior, not aware of the incredibly dangerous circumstances they're putting themselves in when they go into Yellowstone.
The National Park Service routinely states that bison are the park's most dangerous animals. There have been 2 confirmed bison-related deaths in Yellowstone's history, but many gorings over the years. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.